Hello and welcome to In the Director's Chair on Guardian.co.uk. I'm Jason Solomons and I'm delighted to say that my guest on this edition of the show is British director Joe Wright. He of Pride and Prejudice, Atonement and his latest film, The Soloist, film which stars Jamie Foxx and Robert Downey Jr. and is a tale of torn friendship in the mean streets of Los Angeles.
All I want to do is play music, and here's a problem that I'm having right here. This one's gone, this little one's out of commission. Now, the cello can back this guy with the same moves, but the cello can't be concert master. No, he leads out. This is just Doc Perlman. I'm flabbergasted about the statue. Aren't you flabbergasted about this?
Anyway, nice to meet you.
You have any idea how it got here?
No.
Maybe they dropped it off late at night. It really blows me away that someone as great as Beethoven is the leader of Los Angeles.
I'm Steve Lopez, LA Times.
Lopez.
What's your name?
Lopez. Nathaniel Anthony Ayers Jr., NATHANIELA I apologize for my appearance. I've had a few setbacks.
Me too.
Joe, welcome to In the Director's Chair. Lovely to see you.
Nice to see you.
Congratulations on The Soloist.
Thank you.
A film which I was delighted enough to come out and see you filming on the streets of Los Angeles. It's an extraordinary film that's got so much in it. There's journalism, there's music, there's homelessness, there's friendship. There's all these themes running through it. When you went out to Los Angeles to film, when you went to Hollywood, did you know what you were going to be making? Or was it so organic that the themes kind of came together as you were making it?
I didn't really know what I was going to be telling a story about. I had a rough idea. I've always been kind of interested in mental health and the potential for cinema to express quite extreme sort of subjective realities. But I wasn't sure that I really had the authority to make a film that is so intrinsically about the American experience.
One always says when an American comes to London and makes a film about London, you say, well, they brought an outsider's eye to it. Do you think you could then bring an outsider's eye to Los Angeles? Because you certainly shoot in places that most Hollywood filmmakers on their doorstep don't shoot in.
I think there's something to be said for an outsider's viewpoint. I always think of Bill Brandt, a German photographer who came and you know, in my book made the greatest photographs of the British experience in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And I hope I was able to do to kind of give a slightly different perspective.
Read him, sign him. What do you got anything to drink?
Yes, sir, Mr. Lopez. Absolutely, Mr. Lopez. Help yourself to some water. It's where the dripping sound is coming from.
At your leisure. Is there a... What's with Neil Diamond?
I thought that was you.
Well, I'm flattered. He's a good-looking guy. What's wrong?
What's this business about me having a schizophrenic?
It's legal jargon.
It says that I have a schizophrenic mind. I do not.
That's not what I think. Nathaniel, they try to put people in a...
I'm not going anywhere.
And the good news is it has nothing to do with...
Where you say go, I go where I want to go. Okay. You don't put me away, Mr. Lopez. You don't put me away.
Okay.
You don't put me away.
There's a kind of tipping point. In a way, the film, you know, Steve for me is as much of the soloist as Nathaniel, and Steve is someone who, in a kind of typically 21st century way, objectifies the world rather than engaging with it, and he uses his job as a journalist to kind of objectify the world. He kind of likes to think he's engaging, but actually he's just on top of his hill.
There's all grist to his column,
yeah,
isn't it?
exactly, and it's just, and he uses stuff and then spits it out. And the story for him is about the tipping point where he stops kind of keeping everything at an arm's distance and actually becomes involved emotionally with his subject, and the subject stops being an object, I suppose.
With working with stars like Jamie Foxx and Robert Downey Jr., particularly with Jamie Foxx in this role, there was, you know, sort of... There's the as you say, the portrayals of mental illness in Hollywood movies has been particularly sort of, I suppose, reductive in a way. It hasn't served them best. I mean, it puts them into the Rain Man category. You didn't want Jamie to, I presume, be a sort of mix of Ray and Rain Man. Sort of
Also, I think
control
really
it.
importantly that it's a film that doesn't cure Nathaniel. There is no cure for schizophrenia. There are things to help that schizophrenic live, but there's no kind of easy way out, and that's in a way what the film is about. Robert's character Steve,
so kind of a spoiler, that,
Yeah.
in a way, isn't it? Not
well,
really. Well, I don't know.
I mean, I think this film does not end with him playing at Disney Hall in the orchestra, being a great kind of heralded solo.
Welcome
cellist.
back. Here's the album.
Welcome back. Here's the album, and you're cured. But it does, as far as I'm concerned, have a happy ending.
Anyone I could contact? Family?
Family, Miss Floria is my mom. She's a beautician. Beauty is art. Music is beauty. I don't do hair. I do my own hair, but my mom does everybody's hair in the community. They would come for her. She's quite a woman, but I don't know how you're going to talk to her, though, because she passed.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
It's a dream out here, Mr. Lopez. Yeah. The sun is shining, the nights are cool and serene, and I notice that everyone is smiling.
Every sort of area, from the newspapers to the hospitals to the homeless, just gets a real empathetic feeling from you.
I spent a lot of time there, and especially with the Skid Row community. Steve Lopez took me down there, and I'm kind of quite scary at first. Lots of preconceptions, crackheads all want to kill you. That's bullshit, by the way. And then he took me to LAMP, which is a shelter for people who have been diagnosed with a mental illness. And I met some really wonderful people there, and really fell in love with them all, and was kind of fascinated by them. And it occurred to me that they, I might not have the authority to make a film about their lives, but they did, and I could employ them as actors.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they populate your film.
yeah, very English thing. I mean, it's kind of Alan Clarke and Ken Loach and the great British realists, going back to kind of Humphrey Jennings and the documentary filmmakers of the 40s and free cinema of the 50s, and is kind of where I come from.
I think people who've seen Atonement and Pride probably don't know that.
Yeah, although the beach scene in Atonement for me that's what that scene is about. It's about those 1,000 men who are from the community in Redcar who came together and honoured their grandfathers, basically. So that's kind of, and again in Pride and Prejudice, in the dances at the beginning, those villagers were all from a town called Stamford, and you would never have got that atmosphere had you used kind of professional extras from London.
So that, well, you said it's an English thing. I mean, it brings me to the I suppose the big. I don't know what the meta story of the Soloist is you, English filmmaker, going to Hollywood to make this.
The point was to use it like Redcar. Do you know what I mean? That it was just another location, and that it was my crew and my family that we make our films together, and the location happened to be downtown Los Angeles.
So, I mean, for the question that people say, well, how long are you here for? You would go back, I presume, but you don't feel you need to go back to Hollywood to make your movie.
I don't. I mean, the next film it will be made working title, and their money comes from Universal, so it's kind of Hollywood financed. Kate Blanchett's going to play the lead, so she's Australian, but she's a bit of a Hollywood film star, and it'll be shot in India and England, and
it's called Indian Summer.
Yeah, Indian Summer, and I imagine. I don't know. I just respond to whatever script gets sent me.
But India's hot, right? It's Slumdog Millionaire, of course. I know it's a very
really
different. Well, it's hot in all manner, but it's a different kind of area to what Danny Boyle was exploring. But it is interesting when I
was a bit gutted when that came out and it got so. I was like,
it's very different.
It's very different, but
yours is 40s and 30s, I assume.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But what it does illustrate is sort of British directors sort of doing global stuff.
Well, the English have always been very good at travelling, haven't they?
Yeah.
I think that it's exciting to kind of spread out and see the world and then bring it back. But I like Indian Summer because it's still about the British experience, and it's also about the Indian experience as well, very much so. But it's kind of it's coming from a British sensibility, really, and one that I understand.
I wish you the best of luck with the Soloist, because it is that strange thing. It is a sort of grown-up film that doesn't really pander to any particular audience. I hope audiences find it.
It's a good film, hopefully, and hopefully people will go and see it for that. You know, it's not a genre film, and I was watching the Maltese Falcon the other night, and thinking, God, it'd be really nice to make a kind of contained thriller in one town. Do you know what I mean? Just know within the parameters of a genre, but it's not what I'm good at, and it's not the way I think, really. So I'll just have to keep on making the films I make.
Joe Wright, lovely to have you in the director's chair.
Thank you for getting it.